Okay, fine. This is very good, Nancy. I want to thank you for that. Because I knew you were right ahead of me, and I figured when you come, I'll get myself all together, and I'll be ready to roll. That's beautiful, right? 12 seconds, good speech. Well, when Tim asked me to speak at this roast, I figured that it was for the obvious reason that everybody else would be taking, a lot of cheap shots at Paul, and, the usual kind of things you do with a roast. So in order to counteract that, they wanted to go with somebody who, by their very nature, is an extremely humane, a person who knows Paul probably as well as most people in this room, if not better. This is not a mistake. I hope it's, well, maybe it is a mistake. It's got 4 strands on it. That's 37 years in the choir. And let's see, it's 2 years as a boy soprano and 35 years in the adult choir. So I think I can speak pretty freely about you, Paul. I had a lot of material ready for tonight, but then all these priests showed up, so that was not good. Now, we're glad to see the clergy here tonight. Here we're talking about reminiscences of Paul, and I'm thinking back to my first remembrance of Paul was as a boy soprano. I think we were all about 9 or 10, and we're sitting around, and my earliest remembrance is we're sitting there one day, we're talking, and everybody says, we call him Paul. Why do we call him Paul? Does he have a last name? We always called him Paul. And we looked at each other, and we said, I don't know, do you know what his last name is? I don't know, we call him Paul. And one little boy said, I think it is, it's Salamunovich. And I said, watch what you're saying about my choir director. What kind of name is that anyway? We have a lot of people here tonight I'm glad to see. I'm glad that Vance is here. Vance is not dead. Where are you, Vance? There he is. That's terrific. We have also here tonight a person who goes back almost as far as I do with Paul. And for those of you that have heard the story a million times, we have the man who went through the doors of the auditorium head first. Stand up, Glenn. Show them that you're still alive. Actually, there's a story behind that. Paul was mad at 2 boy sopranos. There was Glenn, who he was able to get to, and the fellow next to him was a young man by the name of Terry Donahue, who was a little bit quicker. Terry was going to be here tonight, but he's home studying the want ads. Actually, I shouldn't pick on you. Paul knows that I'm a diehard SC fan. I'm glad to see your Councilman Ferraro here. He was a ball player for USC for many years. What can you say about a guy that's idolized by so many people? Paul, to many, is considered a cross between Beethoven and Sean Connery. Paul is cranky and he doesn't hear so well. That's the Beethoven part. And they say he used to look a little like Sean Connery till his body went bad. No, but Paul is a very generous man. Paul is a very generous man. Paul always pays tribute to his many mentors. And we've heard about Father Louis Buechner, who gave Paul his love of chant. And of course, he first got an appreciation for choral music at the foot of the renowned Dr. Richard Keys Biggs. And of course, his mastery of the choral conducting technique comes from Roger Wagner, who's present tonight. And of course, his organ playing as a result of studying films of Rocky Marciano. Movie of your organ playing Paul. It'll either be called The Search for the Lost Chord or Toward the Unknown Region. I, for one, Paul, would like to thank you on behalf of the choir for really enhancing our appreciation of the a cappella sound. You know, I've made a lot of jokes about Paul, but he really is a well-rounded person. Most of you don't know this, but Paul is actually an excellent golfer. Matter of fact, I'm one of the few people who's played golf with both generations of the Salamunovich brothers, the younger ones, and then there's the older ones. George, Paul, Joe, and I on the same golf course. You have to see this to believe it. First of all, you have to start early with George. We tee off about 2:30 in the morning. And we generally, we lose Joe at about halfway through the first hole. But you know, Paul doesn't get much chance to practice because when you can only play a golf course once, they never invite him back to the same. You get to play too often. Paul has a lot of very famous friends, and he's been invited many times to play on golf courses where they have caddies. I don't know if this is a true story or not, Paul, but the time he played with the caddy, and the ground was not going too well. Let's put it mildly. And you were getting a little testy with the caddy, and he wasn't too fond of you either. And at the very end, you decided to tell him off. You said, you know, I played golf in many places, but you are the worst caddy in the world. And he said, no way, that'd be too big a coincidence. Those of us that were present today, I'm going to stop now, but those of us that were present today were probably very touched by the ceremony, as was I. I mean, it was very moving. I think typifying most of the feelings that were felt by everybody there was, I observed Augie's parents coming out of church. And those of you who know, those of you who know Carmela and Angelo Castagnola, you know that they wear their hearts on their sleeve. And I was frankly touched. I mean, Carmela, tears were pouring down her face, and I don't think she's going to make it through the 50th, if God willing there is a 50th. And Angelo was really touched. He asked me, he said, I think there should have been a cannon during that last one. He was quite moved, Paul, as were we all. I'd just like to leave you with one thought. Please, if you get a chance, take a look at the book. The book is important. It has a lot of very heartfelt thoughts in it. And if you, like I, take a close look at the book, you'll notice that there aren't too many cards in there from people that are talking about Paul's humility. Nor too many cards talking about his complete lack of ego. There are some people who believe that, but we don't give them sharp-pointed things like Seriously, Paul, it's been a wonderful 37 years, and as a result of my association with the choir, I've met a great many people, including one very special person. I think most of you know that Judy and I are finally tying a knot sometime later this year. Naturally, I hope the finest choir in the world and the finest choir director will be there for that occasion. Thank you.